You wish that you were doing better. You wish that you were doing better. That you would heal, that things would go back. That you would be the way that you used to, energetic and happy and generous and open-hearted, but you're feeling stuck. I get it. There may be several reasons for this. And you may not be as stuck as you think. I'm shooting this video on a day where I'm feeling very low. And I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing it anyway because I thought perhaps this is the perfect day to talk about this topic. So I've been thinking about it for a while and putting it off. And then today I felt really, it started yesterday, feeling really hopeless and blaming myself for not getting better or for not being better. I have been out from the narcissistic relationship with my ex-husband for 2 years and 1 or 2 weeks. So I passed the 2-year mark. I am moving forward, but in some areas I really feel stuck. And some days I feel stuck. Some weeks I feel stuck still. Healing. Before we talk about healing, let's talk about the damage. If you were in a relationship, a long relationship with a narcissistic individual, a person who depended on you for regulating their emotions, a person who continuously guilted you and blamed you and who bailed out on doing their share of the responsibility and left it for you and criticized you even though you were doing your best. If you were like me, you struggled for years to make it work, to find ways to reach them, to make them see how much you were doing, how much you were trying, to see your heart, to understand how difficult it was for you. You waited for them to see how hurt you were, and you waited for them to finally just love you, and for you to finally be worthy of their love. But in the process of trying to reach there, you sacrificed a lot of yourself. So you started to put them first. And more, it's like I felt in that relationship, it felt like I was juggling a lot of chores. So before the kids, it was just university and the home chores, the meals, his moods. So, and there was some drama going on in both of our private lives. I come from a narcissistic family system. But among those balls, I was also holding up my health. So I was going to the gym, trying to eat. I wasn't super healthy, so I had this problem with eating sweets when I was anxious. So that started after I met him. So at 15, 16. So doing that for a period and gaining some weight and then going back to a more healthy lifestyle. So it was a lot of ups and downs when it came to my health, but I continuously went to the gym, spent time with my friends, took care of my appearance, and did some hobbies. I always liked to read and to write. So those I was able to juggle those balls, but after we had first one kid, I was still able to keep things going. After the second child, that's when things really, or during that pregnancy, things really started to turn for the worse. And on top of me not being able to juggle all those balls anymore, and really struggling to make things work smoothly, to take care of 2 young kids, struggling with, my own health, energy levels. My daughter, my second child, she was allergic to milk protein and egg. So, and I was breastfeeding her, so I had to change completely what I was eating. I might as well share this because it's so illustrating of what was going on. So she was allergic, very allergic. So when she was a couple of weeks or 4 weeks old, I think, she really started to have a lot of stomach problems. When it was at its worst, she was screaming every waking hour because of stomach ache, and she had diarrhea every hour, and she got rashes all over her body. So she got really sick. And luckily, I thought of the milk protein thing, but then she didn't get well. She did get better, but not well. And then I had a nurse. We had a nurse, contact with the nurse. All mothers or all families with small children have contact with a nurse here in Sweden. And she recognized that's egg allergy. She looked at the rashes, and it was, so she got better. She got perfectly fine when I changed everything. So I had to change the diet, had to change all the recipes and some routines. While my son was not yet 2. So it was really, really difficult. I gained a lot of weight, and I had some issues after the pregnancy. And my husband, he started to cheat on me and disappear, and he was abusive. And not around that time, a couple of months later, he would actually physically abuse me. So, but the point was, as I was doing all that and dealing with arguments that he started, I also, so just now when I was about to shoot this video, I remembered something. Before the second daughter was born, we used to go to a cafe. So we would bring our son, and then we would go into the city center and take a walk or go to the park, and then we would go to a cafe, and I would have, or I like to have a cafe latte. But so after the daughter got this allergy, we tried to go to cafes a couple of times, and I couldn't drink milk, but I could drink oat milk. That's what it's called. So I asked my husband to order. I would go to the table with the kids, and he would go to order. And after we went, our daughter got really ill, and once again got a stomach problem. And I suspected that they had not given me the right milk. So next time we went, I asked, so you have to make sure that they give me the oat milk. And he came back with the oat milk latte, and he said that, well, I made sure that they even cleaned the things that they use for like to prepare the latte, and they use the separate container for the milk, so that there will be no traces of the normal milk. But once again, she got sick, so I figured, well, she must really, really be sensitive. And he said, yes, so we probably can't go out to eat together. You have to prepare everything for her at home. So after that, we didn't go out as much, and eventually not at all. But I just realized that, he probably did that on purpose, knowing what I know now about how he enjoyed to sabotage things for me. So going through all those years with a person who left all the responsibility to you if you were in such a relationship, and perhaps also sabotage you while putting the blame on you for when anything went wrong. Why didn't you think about that before? Perhaps you remember having heard such things. So your health, your energy, your mind. So I know most survivors deal with, especially female survivors that have been mothering small children, dealing with brain fog, so mental fatigue, weight gain, and then dealing with finances, being financially abused, being tricked into taking loans, going through a separation or a divorce where he tries to take all assets and not pay you child support, having to move, perhaps having lost support system, or perhaps realizing that you never had a support system. You were the support system for others. But when things went bad for you, they were there for a short while to see how you were doing, because perhaps they were curious and wanted to hear the story from you. Probably you were a person who'd never opened up or didn't want to burden others. And typically these partners ingrain it into you that don't talk about things and you should be loyal to them. So it's us against the world, so you shouldn't mix anyone else into the relationship. So when you finally open up, people are curious. Perhaps they like to see you not functioning after. If you were a very highly functioning person, they might enjoy seeing that. Or they may just want to try to support you, but they may be dealing with things on their own and they don't have that bandwidth. Or they might just pull away, or like, okay, so we'll talk when you feel better, or something like that. So you realize that when you really need someone, after having spent all your life pouring into others, then you are alone. And so the damage was done on many, many levels. And I'm not even talking about the psychological damage. So the trauma bond, we'll talk more about that actually tomorrow, so Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to join me for a live, we'll talk about the trauma bond and how to break it. And survival patterns that you developed. I know I have this habit of, when I'm feeling awkward, I joke a lot. So I'm trying to make everyone else feel comfortable. Not wanting to show any weakness. Not wanting to admit when you are in need of help, or if you do admit it, you want it to be very short. So yeah, I need help now with this thing, but then surely I will be fine, and thank you, now everything is fine. So having these survival patterns, not wanting to be burdened, blaming yourself or guilting yourself when things happen around you. So as you can see, I'm filming this video on a bad day to show you that you are not alone in this. We all have bad days as we are healing, and it takes time. So that feeling of being stuck, of being a failure, of being at fault for what happened, blaming yourself, wondering what's wrong, why aren't you moving forward, that's something that we all deal with. So that's normal. That feeling is normal, and I guess that all survivors have that feeling. That's what I think. So why am I feeling bad? Why am I feeling bad now? I was actually expecting to feel good, because almost 2 weeks ago, I finished with a trial testifying against my ex-husband, which was a really big thing. And afterwards, I felt really good. And then, before the trial, almost a month before, I was doing half okay. So looking back at this period, this 2-year period after I left, so the last year in the relationship, or the last few months, so the last 3 months especially in the relationship, I was starting to first physically doing much worse. So my health really went down. I gained a lot of weight, and I mentally also felt more hopeless and stuck before I took the decision, or before I came to the conclusion that I need to leave. I was scared. but I was still working. So, but after the separation, when he started to stalk me, there was 3 months when I was still working, but I was barely keeping it together. So I was really tired. But then I crashed. So right now I'm working, and I have been working for 6 months. But before that, I was not working for a year, except for a period of 1 month when I tried, like in one of the moves, I tried to work. So I got a new job, like in a different specialty. So not in general medicine, but in a hospital. But then I had to leave that job because, and then that period I felt that, well, I'm starting to do a bit better again. But then we had to leave again because he showed up, and I was really scared. And after that, I went into cptsd big time. So right now, I have been working for 6 months, and that was really hard for me to, well, especially in the beginning. So start to heal from the cptsd, come to a place when I was even able to apply for a new job, start that job, and then getting back into the routine. That was a struggle. So, but then I felt that I was doing better. Psychologically, I have been doing better. This channel is really helping me. So I really enjoy doing these videos, and I'm so happy when I get a comment that I've helped someone, or they could relate, or they understood something that they have been wondering about. Yeah, so, but then, and now, like the month before this trial, I started to do worse again. I started to have really bad nightmares. So it felt like I was dreaming all night as nightmares, and then waking up with this horrible feeling. And I talked to my boss, so they know what was going on. I was sick I tried to go to work, I struggled to go to work, and I was sick. And then I went to work again, and then I asked to take some vacation days out because I didn't want to call in sick, because I was feeling guilty. Then they have to reschedule my patients. So someone who is waiting to come to the doctor, waiting to get help, and then they get a call in the morning that their doctor is sick. That doesn't feel good at all. So I took out some vacation, but then I did this trial, and it went good, and I felt it felt like such a triumph, because I have never been able to speak like that in my ex-husband's presence. So if you think that I'm talking confidently on my videos, yes, partly that confidence, partly it comes from my work. So I was able to build up my confidence sort of, at least in the work setting, separate from him, because that was a place where he had no part in. But a lot of it has come after the separation, so it's something that I've worked on. And part of it was when I started the channel, I felt like I don't care. Like, I don't care if anyone sees this, because I've been damaged so bad and having to move all this time, so I don't care anymore. So I was in that place mentally, which helped me to start it. But if you think that I look confident on camera. I was not at all talking, feeling this confident with him, and especially in the end of the relationship. I don't think that I would want to see a video of myself back then, because I became so insecure. It was like I was bullied in my own home. Yeah, and I'm talking around in circles, but my point was this. After the trial, I felt that, yes, now it's over. Now it's back on track. Now I go to work again. And so now I have to show that it's like whenever I allow myself to fall down a bit, I have to get back. And it has to I have to show, like, it feels like I have to show my colleagues and my boss that I'm not a slacker, or that I'm not a mess, or so it feels like when I really have an excuse, I can take a break, but then it has to be a short one, and I have to pull myself together. So I can't lean on their goodwill, sort of. But things have been hard. My car, I filmed the video. It was in October, but one of the tires exploded, and like some part of the wheel thing flew off. So right now I don't have a car. I sort of parked it, and just I am not able to drive it. It doesn't have a wheel, so I'm taking the bus, which is hard. Not to complain. I know that people are taking bus, but it's like I'm picking up those balls and juggling them, and like struggling a lot to keep them afloat. And then there is just one little more thing. So it's like the shape of one of the balls changed. So, and because I'm not really balanced, that throws me a bit off. And then what more? Yeah. Another thing that I don't want to take up here, and then my father is ill, so he's at the hospital, and I have not understood why he doesn't know, and they're taking some x-rays, and I haven't talked to his doctor. So hopefully it's just an infection, and he has been ill before many, many times, but it was like on top of everything else. That really makes me sad, because I can't, right now we're not living there, I can't go to see him. And these small things together made me yesterday start to do so yesterday. But, well, yesterday evening, I was feeling really sad. I talked to my dad, and he was sounding very tired and a bit confused, which he usually gets a bit confused when he has an infection. But then I couldn't sleep, so I started to cry yesterday, and I thought about my father, and then I thought about that. Well, I pitied myself a bit, thinking that this is really hard. I'm feeling stuck. I'm ashamed that, like, why can't I pull myself together? Then, so I called in sick today, and I will be sick tomorrow. yes, and so I've been really low today, and I have been having a lot of thoughts, like negative thoughts, about being inadequate, about my father and not being there when he's sick, not being able, if I lose him, then it's the last healthy person in my family that I'm losing, and that my children really look forward to seeing again. And we haven't been able to see him since the last move because I have been too afraid to go there, where my ex-husband knows very well where he lives, and they have these large glass windows that you can look into through. So feeling guilty about not being able to give my kids an extended family that is healthy and loving, and not having energy to do everything that I want to do with them. So I'm providing the basic things. So yesterday one of my colleagues asked what activities my kids have in their in their free time, and right now they don't have any activities. They haven't had any since the separation. I haven't had the energy, and I haven't had the economy with all the moves. And just feeling inadequate. So, this video it's not primarily about me, but I'm just sharing it because I know that we blame ourselves, and you are probably struggling with thoughts on your own about how you're not doing enough, being enough, how you're failing, how you're stuck, how things are not moving forward as you thought. And those thoughts are normal. And what I wanted to share was that healing is a process. Just like you were broken down, all those years you were broken down in all different areas, not just psychologically. It was your brain that was affected with the brain fog. It was your body, your health, your routines, your support system, your finances, your thought patterns. And when you heal, you have to reverse those things. And that's not done like that. So yeah, I will show you something. Some of you know I like to knit. Right now I'm knitting. This is the first, so I've done sweaters for my kids, one each. But this is the first one that I will be doing for me. I might show it when it's done, so it will take probably a few weeks. But the point is this: if you look at a finished knitted sweater, or it looks complicated. So if you've never knitted something like that, or if you don't know how to knit, it looks like impossible. So when we are in this stage, like after the separation, we have been really hurt and damaged in different ways. And perhaps we never learned how to do things in a healthy manner. So we look at a person, and healing is possible. So that's important to remember. And many, many people have gone through this and they have healed. It's a process, and it takes time, and it takes longer than you think, longer than you would like. And even after feeling like, well, now I have healed a bit, so I'm able to work. I no longer struggle with cptsd. I have regained some confidence. I've broken the trauma bond, which I proved to myself in this trial. I didn't feel any of those feelings towards my ex-husband. What more? Yeah, I'm beginning slowly to rebuild economy. It takes time. And then starting to work on my patterns of interacting with others. I'm quite good now, I think, at recognizing toxic people and have a different way of dealing with them. But even when I feel that, well, I've come a long way. So compared with 2 years ago, I've come a really long way, really, really long way. But still, now there is a down. So you've heard this, there are some steps forward and there are some steps back, and that's normal. So that doesn't happen only to you, it happens to all of us, and even the people that you see on YouTube that looks successfully healed. You might even perhaps people that you see in your real life. If you know someone that once went through an abusive relationship years ago, and they look fine now, that took time. It was a process, so it is possible. But just as you look at the finished knitted shirt, it looks very, very complicated, and you might think that, well, I'm not a good knitter, so I won't be able to do that. I'm feeling stuck. But it is not by magic. So you learn, okay, so how do I do the normal normal knitted stitches? And then you learn that, and then you know how to do the straight knitted stitches, and then you learn how to knit the scarf, perhaps, and then you learn how to knit the shawl. So you need to know one more stitch to be able to knit the shawl, and that's what I'm wearing now. I've done a lot of them, and this has been part of my healing because today I've knitted a lot because I was feeling so down, and I've knitted a lot of shawls, and sometimes I just like to look at the colors. So this was one of my first. So this was actually one I knitted 2 years ago. And as you can see, I started from the bottom down. I don't know if you can see it. It's quite big. But right here, down, it is very red. So it's blood red, like all the hurt. And then it shifts in color. So it gets lighter. And then lighter, and then it's the yellow, the golden line. So it was a bit symbolic, and I still work a lot with colors, and this purple one I did before the trial. So it has been part of my healing. But to get to the point, healing is also a process. So it's done step by step. Learning just to do one thing differently, moving forward, pushing forward a bit when you're not really feeling like it, or like I'm doing now, crashing openly, and telling my job that I can't come, I'm sick, even though I'm feeling guilty about it, and then trying to accept it even though I've been crying all night. Healing is messy, and it goes up and down, and sometimes it goes back, and it's normal. So, and it's also, as I said, not magical. So often, I just have to check the battery, sorry. Because it looks hard, and because it's like the steps are hidden, so no one talks about the steps exactly. I'm trying to do that on my channel, so a lot in my videos I try to talk about the steps or a next step, or focus on something new in each video. So because healing is done by learning a little, like understanding some new information and implementing it, that will bring you forward. It is, in a way, it is individual because it depends on how your situation are. But healing is not only psychological. So much of the healing is done by getting your ordinary life together, like getting a normal life functioning again. Being able to, and that, like, fortunately, I was able to crash for a while, and just like send my kids to school in the morning and then go to bed. And I was able to do that. I will not I will not go into exactly how I was able to pull it off financially, but I had that possibility. Sometimes you have if you have someone around you that can support you, take that help. But like, I didn't get to this place by only crashing and waiting to feel better, because I had to, yes, I did crash, but the motion, so I had to still struggle to get better. So struggle, I knew I can't stay in bed my whole, even if I'm feeling really, really bad, I have to get up. I have to fix dinner for the kids. I have to eventually get a job. I have to have a plan if he shows up. I have to go and get a mail and pay the bills, even though sometimes it felt really like a struggle to do anything during long periods. Like a mental struggle to do something that was a bit challenging mentally. It took a lot of energy. Yes, sometimes you have to accept the downs. And I had to accept those for months. And as I said, it took me a year before I could start to work again. And I wasn't working full time, and I'm still not working full time, even though I've been able to increase it a bit. But the goal is to move forward and to try to get some motion, to try to get at least outside the door and get a little bit of daylight, to try to eat properly, eat the meals, the 3 meals, breakfast, dinner, lunch. So some movement, meals, food, and sleep, to try to sleep through the night, or just try to sleep. My point is this: crashing is normal, but you want that forward motion to be there. There is always a way forward. In the beginning of in the beginning, when I created my channel, I used to have this outro in my videos. There is always a way forward. There is always a way out. And I believe that. So there is always a way forward and the next step. Sometimes we don't see it ourselves. And we have this, like we can sometimes get stuck. Find the ways that you get yourself unstuck. To take a little step. Sometimes it can be something that you like to do, take a bath. I have this like automatic neck massager. It's like a machine that like gives neck massage. That's really great. Tea, knitting, that's my things. Find your things. So something that gets you out of that negative thinking. Sometimes we have a trusted friend, preferably someone who has gone through this, to talk to. Sometimes it is listening to a video that gives us some hope. And that's why I'm doing the live streams as well, because I think connecting live to someone else, to a community of survivors that are trying to heal, that's a wonderful. And even filming the videos is energizing me. So this work is like, it really feels meaningful, and it gives me hope, and it feels like even when I am struggling, and even if I am hurting a lot, there is some meaning to it, because I can use it to do something meaningful, like to help someone. And find like the ways that work. Sometimes you have to wait it out, like the dip, and accept that I'm feeling really, really bad. I know that it will feel better in like a while, in a few hours, in a few days. It will turn. There are some traps, so try to stay away from alcohol or benzodiazepams, or like narcotic classified medications, opioids. Sometimes you do need those very short, very, very short, like not the alcohol, the medications. Like if you are in extreme pain after surgery, if you're going through like something very intense, like a very intense crisis, you might have to use something like that for a few weeks, but try not to make it longer, because you get addicted. It doesn't have to do with you, it's the medications. And it puts you at risk of going into a downward spiral. So those things bring you down. It can help temporarily, but it's no good in the long run. It just leaves you with addiction. Alcohol, I would advise you to avoid it. That might sound harsh, but that's my advice if you're healing. It is very, very effective in numbing anxiety. And that is where the danger lies. So actually, like the largest group of alcoholics, they are not the persons that you are seeing like in a street corner. The largest group of alcoholics are like, that's their use of alcohol is hidden, and they become alcoholics later in life. And why do they become it? Well, because they are starting to use alcohol to numb anxiety. It's called type 2 alcoholic. So when you start to drink to numb your anxiety, that especially if you're doing it in secret, like by yourself, that is a very dangerous path, because yes, it works wonders right there at the moment, but in the long run, it increases anxiety and it makes you more depressed. So then you will need more alcohol to dim it. And on top of that, you will get addicted to your body, not you, like you're not flawed, it's the body. And the brain gets addicted to this substance and it will crave more of it. And you will be horribly anxious when you don't get it. And that's how you can end up in a really bad situation. And also alcohol is a neurotoxin. So I worked, 1 year I worked at a neuro rehab clinic. Well, it was both a ward, so half of the floor was a ward where patients were staying for weeks after traffic accidents. Some of them were in coma. They had head injuries, strokes, or spine injuries. Like they were really sick patients, but they were there to go through rehabilitation. So they may not be able to be perfectly restored, but we believed that we could make them more functioning so they could be better. And I learned a lot there from, well, we looked at the whole person. So like going through rehab is sort of the same thing as here, like it's a step-by-step process. So we would sit down not in the first weeks. And this was really a great rehab clinic. And last time I spoke to the boss, like the staff were wonderful. They had these nurses who worked there since the 80s and 90s. And like the staff stayed there, they really liked it. And they had that was the biggest rehab center in Sweden and perhaps even in the Nordic countries. I'm not sure, but I think it was the first one that started in Sweden. I don't have to name the town, but it was a really great rehab center, and they were financed. And last time I heard, they were cutting back on the money that was put into that place. So that's really a shame. And I think that's like the thinking in large areas of society, unfortunately, and in many companies. Like, we don't invest in these things enough. But it was really a privilege to be there and see how they worked to restore function in these really sick patients. And then the other half of the floor in this big building was the outpatient rehabilitation. So there they came for a rehab period of it was different for every patient, but 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and many of them were returning. And in this rehab center, they had to sign a contract before they were allowed to participate, and before they were allowed on the ward even, that they would not use any drugs and they would not use any alcohol. And why were they so harsh with the alcohol? Well, because when you're doing rehabilitation, and especially when it comes to neuro rehab, you want the brain to regrow. Well, it's healing And many of these patients were struggling with mental fatigue. That can happen from when you have some sort of neural injury in the brain. Mental fatigue sort of happens to everyone. So we learned a lot about that. And when it comes to mental fatigue as well, like one of the reasons why you get mental fatigue is burnout. And the mechanism, like what is believed to happen in the brain, is sort of the same principle no matter how you got that mental fatigue. And you need to heal the brain. And so then consuming alcohol, that halts that healing, and it has like an effect for some studies showed for a week after you use alcohol, healing is halted. So that was a big thing, and we took tests on the patients, and they had to leave samples. Like if we suspected that any one of them used drugs or alcohol, they were not allowed to stay in the rehab center. Then like that position was given to someone else, because all that was the head doctor's decisions, but because it was not believed that they would heal. So they didn't want to waste that huge amount of resources on a patient who stunted their healing. So anyway, when you're healing, stay away from alcohol. I do have a video talking about mental fatigue and how to heal it. I will link that video here if you want to watch it. Lastly, if you're feeling really down or guilty or blaming yourself, anger might be your friend. And I don't mean to always go around and be super angry and resentful, or to turn that anger inwards at yourself. Although there is an angry stage in the healing. So when you're going through grief, the 5 stages, anger is one of the stages. So yes, sometimes we go to the really resentful, angry stage. And I did that as well. And that's really, really uncomfortable. But what I mean is that sometimes when you're having a lot of negative thoughts about yourself, or when someone said something that triggered you, sometimes being a bit angry can help you to get in, like, out of sad victim mode into, I'll show you, and that can help. So that's one of the ways that I use to flip the script for myself, and to put the blame back where it belongs. I did not mean for things to be this way. I did my best to keep things together, not just for me, but for everyone around me. I have always done my very, very best to take care of my kids, often alone, for years without anyone to help out, to step in. And instead of having someone to support me, I had a husband who intentionally what's that word? Intentionally sabotaged me, blamed me and abused me. And even through all of that, I was able to eventually see the truth, to escape, to move 4 times, to try to rebuild 4 times, to crash, and rise or step to take a little step forward anyway, and to keep that hope and to keep that forward motion, and sometimes use anger to get some motivation or to keep moving forward. So we are getting there together. We all go through the stuck phase, the stuck days, the stuck months, the dips, the confusion, the self-blame, the feelings of it being hopeless, thinking that we have been damaged, like it's irreparable, but it's not. It's a process, just like knitting that sweater. You do it step by step. You watch how others do it. You watch the tutorials. You take up some advice here and there. You ask for help. Sometimes you need professional help. If you're able to afford a therapist. You can also write to me in the comments. In the email, I respond to everyone as soon as I can. I do help support some women, and if you feel that you need support, write to me and we can start by writing and see where it takes us. I want you to heal. I want you to move forward. Tell me where you are stuck. Write what is keeping you stuck. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's support each other. Thank you for listening to this really, really, really long video. I'm Emma. Even though it's a shitty day, still trying to hold up the light. Yeah, and the candle's still glowing. See you in the next video. Oh yeah. You wish that you were doing better.